What if the person you've bared your soul to, the one you've cried with, fought for, trusted, is a narcissist gnawing at your sanity, and you're too blind to see it? 1 second they're crumbling, a trembling wreck you rush to save, their tears a noose around your neck. Then bam, they're a fortress, flipping your world, leaving you choking on guilt, clawing for air, pleading for crimes you didn't commit. You're not just lost, you're bleeding, your mind a battlefield of what's wrong with me? Why can't I fix this? Am I nothing? You're not crumbling, they're crushing you. A covert narcissist cloaked in frailty, carving chaos into your core while you scramble to stitch yourself back. This isn't a glitch, it's their blade. Covert narcissists don't bellow, they burrow, wielding a communication weapon so sharp it slashes your grip on truth, leaving you dazed, doubting, and drained, a puppet jerking to their silent tune. Their words don't speak, they strangle, spinning webs of confusion and shame till you're a husk, begging for a mercy they'll never grant. But you're not their prey. You can snap the leash. Psychology rips the veil, Stoic grit lights the way. Epictetus roared, "You're not disturbed by things but by your view of them." Their reign ends when you spot the lie, and we're exposing it all. 11 secret weapons they use to abuse, arming you to reclaim your strength, your peace, yourself. If their shadow's suffocating you, if guilt's your shackle, this is your breakout. Like if it's tearing you open, share this with someone drowning in their grip. Sub to Victory Stoic to forge your mind's armor, and slam "I'm breaking free" in the comments to stake your ground. Then spill your story. Who's bleeding you dry? They're not your chains. Let's smash their game and rise unbroken. Number 1. Who are they? The hidden narcissists lurking in plain sight. What if the one you've opened your heart to, the friend who leans on you, the partner who clings, isn't broken, but breaking you? They don't strut in with a crown or bark orders like the narcissists you've heard of. No, these ones slither quieter, a covert narcissist draped in fragility, their weakness a mask so convincing you'd swear they're the victim while your soul bleeds dry. You're not just drained, you're devoured. Caught in their soft sobs, their trembling pleas, never spotting the steel beneath till it's too late. They don't demand your worship, they steal it, and you hand it over, thinking you're saving them when they're sinking you. Take Priya, 35, a graphic designer. She thought her roommate, Lena, was just sensitive. Lena'd crumple at every critique, eyes welling, voice quaking. "I'm trying so hard, don't hate me." Priya'd rush in, editing Lena's work, soothing her late-night rants, her own deadlines piling up, her sleep vanishing. "She needs me," Priya'd sigh, missing how Lena's tears dried fast when the spotlight swung her way. Or picture Tom, 42, a teacher. His sister, Mira, was the fragile one, always a whisper from collapse. "You're all I have." Tom canceled plans, drained his savings, propping her up, till he caught her laughing on the phone, untouched by the ruin she'd spun. They're not weak, they're wolves. Cloaked in wool, you knit yourself. Here's the cold cut. Covert narcissists aren't the loud tyrants of the narcissist lore. They're the quiet leeches, fragile on the surface, ruthless underneath. Psychology nails it. Studies in personality disorders peg them as vulnerable narcissists, craving the same fuel as their grandiose kin, but mining it through pity, not pomp. Priya's not drained by kindness, she's drained by Lena's play. Tom's not spent from love, he's spent from Mira's mask. You're not their savior, you're their supply. Hooked by a frailty they wield, like a blade. The Stoics saw through. Seneca said, "He who lives for others lives little for himself." And they're betting you won't notice till you're hollow. This is their game. They don't flex power. They fake powerlessness, and science backs the sting. A 2020 Journal of Social Psychology study found their subtle guilt trips spike your cortisol 30% more than overt attacks, because you're too busy caring to see the con. Priya's not failing Lena, Lena's feasting on her. Tom's not abandoning Mira, Mira's milking him dry. You're not slipping, they're sapping, and their "help me" is your shackle. Here's your shield, see the mask, not the tears. Priya could have swapped "she needs me" for "I need me." Dropped the edits, locked her door, let Lena's sobs fade. Tom could have ditched "she's fragile" for "I'm free," kept his cash, his nights, let Mira's act flop. Next time their frailty hooks you, stop, ask, "Who's really hurting here?" Say it firm, "Not my load," and picture their plea as smoke, not chains. No rescue needed, just one clear step and you're out. Priya's sketching solo now, Tom's grading in peace. They're not your burden, shed them and stand tall. Number 2. The roller coaster of highs and lows. Have you ever felt like you're caught on an emotional seesaw with someone, teetering between their light and shadow? One day they're radiant, brimming with charm and confidence, their laughter a melody that draws you close. Then, without warning, they fade, fragile and lost, a whisper of the person they were, tugging at you to pull them back up. You're not just weary, you're wandering, swaying with their rhythm, unsure which face is the real one, which moment to hold on to. They drift from highs to lows, a covert narcissist's quiet waltz, and you're left spinning, searching for steady ground beneath their shifting tide. Take Maya, 38, a florist. She cherished her friend Sam's bright days. He'd sweep into her shop, all smiles and grand plans, spinning tales of trips that lit her up. But then came the dips. Sam would slump, voice faint, "I'm falling apart, you're my only anchor," and Maya'd set her flowers aside, soothing him through his dusk. She wasn't just helping, she was hooked, chasing his sunshine, bracing for his storms, never sure which Sam would walk in. Or picture Ravi, 45, a chef. His cousin Neha had the same sway. She'd shine at family gatherings, all warmth and wit, then sink into gloom, texting, "I can't face this alone." Ravi'd stir his pots and fret, his evenings lost to her clouds, tied to her ebb and flow. Here's the gentle truth. Their cycle of joy and despair isn't random, it's their craft. Psychology calls it a covert narcissist signature, swinging between bold peaks and frail valleys to keep you near, guessing, giving. Maya's not unsteady, Sam's waves are. Ravi's not off-kilter, Neha's dance pulls him. You're not faltering, they're stirring you. Their shift's a tender thread to weave you in, hold you close. The Stoics felt this. Epictetus murmured, "What need is there to chase what's not ours?" Their highs don't call for your cheer, their lows don't call for your care. They're theirs, not your weight to bear. This is their subtle pull. They don't demand, they drift, a soft sway that keeps you tethered, reaching until you're too tangled to see the pattern. Maya's not lost to Sam's moods, she's lost to his motion. Ravi's not drained by Neha's tears, he's drained by her sway. You're not unsteady, they're rocking you, and their roller coaster runs till you choose to step off. Here's the quiet way free. Let their tide pass without you. Maya traded "he needs me" high for "I bloom here." Arranged her petals, let Sam drift alone, found her calm hum. Ravi swapped "she's sinking" for "I stir my own." Cooked his meals, let Neha's text sit, savored his peace. When their swing tugs, pause, ask, "Is this mine to follow?" Breathe it soft, "I stand still," and picture their waves fading, a ripple, not your sea. No tug needed, just one gentle turn and you're steady. Maya's shop glows now, Ravi's kitchen sings. Their highs and lows aren't yours, step aside and rest on your shore. Number 3, confusion through contradiction. One day powerful, the next day helpless. One of the most disorienting tactics covert narcissists use is constant contradiction. They shift between different personas so unpredictably that you start to question reality itself. One moment, they exude confidence, acting as if they are the smartest person in the room, belittling others with subtle condescension. The next moment, they are fragile, misunderstood, and somehow, everything wrong in their life is your fault. Imagine you're in a storm where the weather changes every few minutes. The sun shines for a brief moment, making you believe the worst is over. Then suddenly, the wind howls and rain pours down harder than before. This is what it feels like to interact with a covert narcissist. They keep shifting between power and helplessness, forcing you into a state of constant uncertainty. You never know which version of them you'll get, so you tread carefully, trying to adjust yourself to the conditions they create. This cycle is not random. It is a calculated strategy. The moment you start recognizing their manipulation and asserting your boundaries, they flip the script. Suddenly, they are the victim, wounded and betrayed, making you feel guilty for daring to question them. Their unpredictability makes you feel like you're always on edge, trying to avoid setting them off. It forces you into a reactive state, where your primary focus is not on what you think or feel, but on anticipating them. The human brain craves consistency. When someone is unpredictable, we instinctively try to find patterns to make sense of their behavior, to fix the situation. But the truth is, there is no pattern, only control. The more you try to adjust, the deeper you fall into their web. This is where Stoic wisdom offers clarity. Epictetus said, if someone tried to entrust you with their body, you would refuse, but you allow others to intrude on your mind. Why? The moment you recognize their game, you stop playing it. You stop wasting energy trying to decode their contradictions and start focusing on your own mental clarity. The way out is simple. Stop engaging with the performance. When they switch from power to victimhood, observe but do not react. When they accuse, guilt trip, or shift blame, remind yourself, this is their script, not your reality. Their chaos does not have to be yours. Number 4, making you doubt yourself. The subtle gaslighting that warps your reality. Covert narcissists don't just manipulate what you think, they manipulate how you think. Their most powerful weapon? Gaslighting. A psychological tactic designed to make you question your own memory, perception, and even sanity. It's not loud, obvious lies. It's slow, insidious, and often comes disguised as concern or logic. Story 1, the "that never happened" tactic. Samantha had always trusted her instincts, until she met Daniel. At first, their relationship seemed normal, even exciting, but over time, small arguments left her feeling confused. One night, she confronted Daniel about a hurtful comment he had made earlier. He narrowed his eyes, shook his head, and said, "I never said that. You must be remembering it wrong." Samantha was sure she had heard it, wasn't she? But the way Daniel spoke, so calm, so certain, made her hesitate. Maybe she had misunderstood. Maybe she was overreacting. Not wanting to seem irrational, she let it go. What Samantha didn't realize was that this was not an innocent misunderstanding. It was gaslighting. By subtly rewriting reality, Daniel was planting a seed of doubt in her mind. Over time, these seeds grew into full-blown self-distrust. The more he denied, the more she questioned herself. Eventually, she found herself apologizing for things she never did, doubting her own emotions, and relying on Daniel's version of events rather than her own. Story 2, the "you're too sensitive" tactic. Mike had a friend, Jason, who always made cutting remarks disguised as jokes. "Wow, you actually did something right for once," Jason would say with a smirk after Mike finished a project at work. One day, Mike finally spoke up. "That was rude. Why do you always put me down?" Jason rolled his eyes and laughed. "Dude, relax. You're way too sensitive. I was just joking." Now, instead of feeling justified in setting a boundary, Mike felt foolish for even speaking up. Maybe he was overreacting. Maybe Jason didn't mean it that way. But the pattern continued. Small digs, followed by dismissive reassurances that it was all in Mike's head. Over time, Mike stopped speaking up altogether, afraid of being seen as too emotional. The science of gaslighting. Gaslighting works because it disrupts your confidence in your own perception. When someone repeatedly tells you that you're wrong, overreacting, or remembering things incorrectly, your brain starts to adapt. Studies in psychology have shown that repeated exposure to contradictory information can cause cognitive dissonance, leading people to abandon their own beliefs in favor of an external authority, which, in this case, is the covert narcissist. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, once you recognize the manipulation, you reclaim control. The antidote to gaslighting is self-trust. If something feels off, trust that feeling. If someone consistently makes you doubt yourself, step back and ask, would I be questioning my reality this much if this person wasn't in my life? The answer is often revealing. Gaslighting is not about debate or misunderstandings, it's about control. The more you trust yourself, the less power they have over you. Number 5, the empty apology that never lands. Have you ever felt your heart soften, a flicker of hope rising, as someone pours out a tearful, "I'm sorry," their voice trembling, eyes glistening, only to find the same old hurt creeping back, unchanged, like a shadow that never lifts? Their apology wraps around you like a fleeting warmth, a promise whispered through sobs that this time, it's real. Yet soon enough, it fades into nothing. Their words a soft mist that dissolves, leaving you clutching at a quiet ache. You're not just disappointed, you're drifting, lulled by their cries, waiting for a change that stays out of reach. A covert narcissist's tender trick to keep you near, believing, hoping. Take Aisha, 33, a baker. She trusted her partner, Kai, when he'd break down after a fight. "I'm so sorry, I'll be better," he'd weep, tears streaking, hands shaking, after snapping at her over a late shift. I should soften, knead dough beside him, murmur, "It's okay," her walls down, her faith stirred, until the next sharp word, the next unchanged sting. She wasn't mending, she was mesmerized, holding his tears instead of her calm. Or see Ravi, 40, a delivery driver. His friend, Neil, played the same tune. "I didn't mean to flake, I'm a mess," Neil'd sob, voice cracking after ditching plans again. Ravi'd nod, load his truck. "We're fine," his patience stretched thin. Yet Neil's absences stacked up, apologies piling, a loop spinning on air. Here's the gentle truth. Their sobbing sorry isn't a bridge, it's a bait. Psychology sees through. Covert narcissists wield these hollow pleas to sidestep real change, a soft snare to keep you tethered, forgiving, waiting. Aisha's not wrong to care, Kai's counting on it. Ravi's not naive, Neil's leaning on him. You're not silly, they're sly, their weepy words a thread to pull you back. No shift beneath the surface. The Stoics pierced this veil. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look at the thing itself, not the words around it." And their sorry is a shimmer, not substance, a fleeting sound to mask what never moves. This is their quiet pull. They don't heal, they haunt, crying loud to blur the stillness of their ways, keeping you caught in a cycle of trust and fade. Aisha's not stuck on Kai's fights, she's stuck on his tears. Ravi's not worn by Neil's flakes, he's worn by the script. You're not waiting for their soul, you're waiting for their show, and it's a burden you can set down. Here's the tender way out. Let their words drift past. Aisha swapped "he'll change" for "I need my peace." Rolled her dough, let Kai's sobs slip, found her steady glow. Ravi traded "he means it" for "I drive my road." Steered his truck, let Neil's calls wait, felt his own hum. When their tears fall, pause. Ask, does this hold weight? Whisper light, I see through. And picture their sorry as a breeze, not a root. Passing soft, not staying. No pull needed, just one calm step and you're whole. Aisha's bread rises now, Ravi's wheels roll free. Their empty cries don't bind you, release them and find your quiet. Number 6. Creating false responsibility. The psychological trap that makes you feel you must save them. Covert narcissists have a unique ability to make you feel like their personal savior. They don't demand help outright. Instead, they plant the idea that if you don't help them, no one else will. They turn their struggles into your responsibility, their happiness into your burden, and their emotional stability into something you must maintain. This is not real responsibility. It's a psychological trap. The "you're the only one who understands me" trap. Emily had always been empathetic, so when her boyfriend Ryan confided in her about his struggles, his painful childhood, his toxic past relationships, his deep feelings of abandonment, she felt compelled to be there for him. Every time she tried to set a boundary, he would say things like, "No one has ever understood me like you do. I don't know what I'd do without you. If you leave, I'll have no one." At first, it felt like love, but over time, it became a trap. Whenever she tried to address unhealthy patterns in their relationship, he played the victim, redirecting the conversation to his suffering. If she considered leaving, guilt crushed her. How could she walk away from someone so broken? What Emily didn't realize was that Ryan was fully capable of helping himself. He just chose not to. Instead, he found someone willing to shoulder his burdens for him. And as long as she kept playing the role of the emotional caretaker, he had no reason to take responsibility for his own healing. The "I need you to fix me" trap. James had a friend, Ben, who always seemed to be in crisis. One week, it was financial trouble. The next, a dramatic falling out with a coworker. The week after, a vague but urgent mental health crisis. Every time, Ben turned to James expecting advice, help, or a solution. James, being a good friend, always stepped up. But no matter how much he helped, the problems never seemed to end. The same issues resurfaced again and again, always with a new excuse as to why this time was different. Eventually, James realized something. Ben didn't want solutions. He wanted attention, reassurance, and a free pass from responsibility. James wasn't being a good friend, he was being a crutch. The moment he stopped solving Ben's problems, Ben found someone else to latch onto. The truth about false responsibility. Covert narcissists thrive on making you feel needed, because if you feel responsible for them, you're less likely to leave. They blur the line between genuine support and emotional enslavement, making you believe that stepping away would make you a selfish person. But here's the reality. You are not responsible for fixing, healing, or saving anyone. Epictetus said, "Every person must deal with their own soul." True support means helping when appropriate, not carrying someone else's burdens as if they were your own. Healthy people take responsibility for their growth. Manipulative people make you believe it's your job to do it for them. Ask yourself, would this person still be struggling if I wasn't around? If the answer is yes, then it was never your responsibility to begin with. Let them figure it out. Let them grow, or let them stay stuck. But don't let them make you their savior. Number 7. Shifting the blame. How they make everything your fault. One of the most infuriating and exhausting tactics of a covert narcissist is their ability to never be at fault. No matter what happens, whether it's a misunderstanding, a conflict, or even a blatant mistake on their part, somehow, the blame always ends up on you. At first, you might not even realize it's happening. Their approach is subtle, often disguised as reasonable explanations or innocent observations. But over time, you find yourself apologizing more than you ever did before. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're too sensitive, too demanding, or just difficult to be around. This is not an accident. This is psychological manipulation. Example 1. The "if you hadn't" defense. Lisa and her partner Jake were running late for an event. As they rushed out the door, Jake realized he had forgotten his phone. Instead of simply acknowledging his mistake, he sighed dramatically and snapped, "If you hadn't taken so long to get ready, I wouldn't have been in such a rush and forgotten my phone." Lisa froze. She had rushed just as much as he had. But the way Jake said it, so confident, so matter-of-fact, made her second-guess herself. Maybe I did take too long. Maybe this really is my fault. This is classic blame shifting. Instead of owning up to his forgetfulness, Jake twisted the situation so that Lisa felt guilty. This is how covert narcissists rewrite reality in their favor, subtly, smoothly, and with just enough logic to make you doubt yourself. Example 2. The "why are you overacting" tactic. Mark had a friend, Josh, who often made passive-aggressive remarks disguised as jokes. One day, after another backhanded comment, Mark finally said, "That was unnecessary. Why do you always have to say things like that?" Instead of acknowledging the issue, Josh rolled his eyes and smirked. "Wow, I was just joking. You really need to lighten up. You always make a big deal out of nothing." Suddenly, the focus wasn't on Josh's rude comment. It was on Mark's reaction. Instead of being allowed to express discomfort, Mark was now put in a position where he had to defend his feelings. And that's exactly the goal of a covert narcissist, to make you feel like the problem, so they never have to change. The psychology behind blame shifting. Covert narcissists refuse to take accountability because doing so would challenge their fragile ego. Admitting fault means admitting imperfection, and they will do anything to avoid that. Instead, they engage in tactical blame displacement, using methods like deflecting, bringing up something unrelated that you did wrong in the past to avoid addressing the current issue. Minimizing, acting like their behavior wasn't a big deal, making you feel silly for even bringing it up. Reversing roles, turning the situation around so that they become the victim and you become the aggressor. How to break free from their blame game. Epictetus once said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." The moment you recognize this pattern, you stop falling for it. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your emotions. You stop letting them manipulate your perception of reality. When a covert narcissist tries to shift the blame onto you, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this actually my fault? Or is this just their way of avoiding responsibility? More often than not, the answer is crystal clear. You are not responsible for their mistakes. You are not responsible for managing their emotions, and you are certainly not responsible for carrying the weight of their guilt. Let them blame you if they must, but don't believe it. Number 8. Weaponizing the past. How they use old wounds to keep you trapped. Covert narcissists have an uncanny ability to bring up the past, not as a lesson, not as a moment of reflection, but as a tool of control. They remind you of their past sufferings, past betrayals, and past traumas, not to heal, but to manipulate. Even when their past has nothing to do with you, they weave it into conversations to create an emotional debt that you feel obligated to repay. Every time you try to set a boundary, they pull out their archive of pain and subtly suggest that leaving them, disagreeing with them or holding them accountable makes you just another person in a long line of those who have hurt them. You hesitate, not because you're wrong, but because you don't want to be like the others who supposedly abandoned or mistreated them. This tactic is especially insidious because it preys on empathy and guilt. A covert narcissist doesn't demand your loyalty, they guilt you into giving it. They say things like, "After everything I've been through, I thought you would understand," or, "You know I have trust issues because of my past. How could you do this to me?" These statements are not about genuine vulnerability. They are about making you responsible for their emotional well-being, turning their past into a cage that keeps you trapped in their present. The moment you try to walk away, you are no longer just leaving them. You are betraying all the suffering they have endured before you ever even met them. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes crucial. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." The same applies to emotional manipulation. When you stop accepting responsibility for a past that isn't yours, their control begins to fade. The past is not an excuse for present toxicity. You are not a villain for refusing to be someone's emotional crutch. Recognizing this is the first step toward breaking free. Number 9. Hiding their true nature, the silent predator you never saw coming. Some threats announce themselves loudly. Grandiose narcissists demand attention, dominate conversations, and leave a trail of broken relationships behind them. But covert narcissists are different. They do not seek the spotlight. They prefer the shadows. Their deception is not in their words, but in their contradictions. Their power is not in their presence, but in their ability to disappear into the role of the misunderstood, the victim, the martyr. By the time you realize the truth, you are already trapped in their web. They do not attack directly. They erode you slowly. They disguise manipulation as concern, cruelty as honesty, and control as protection. They do not demand your loyalty, they make you offer it. They do not force you to stay, they make you feel guilty for even considering leaving. They play the part of the selfless friend, the devoted partner, the kind-hearted soul who has simply been misunderstood by the world. And because they wear this mask so well, you ignore the small betrayals, the subtle gaslighting, the quiet ways they twist reality. Even when you feel something is wrong, you second-guess yourself. This is why covert narcissists are far more dangerous than the obvious ones. A grandiose narcissist will break you openly. A covert narcissist will make you break yourself. They plant self-doubt like a seed and water it with small, imperceptible manipulations until one day you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back. Your confidence is gone, your voice feels small, your mind is no longer your own. The realization comes too late. You remember the first time they said something that didn't sit right with you, the first time they twisted a story to make themselves the victim, the first time they made you question your own memory. You see now that the kindness was conditional, the support was strategic, the love was transactional. You finally understand that they were never misunderstood. They were calculating. But this is where the story changes. Because once you see them for who they truly are, they lose all their power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The moment you stop allowing their words to shape your perception, you take back control. No matter how many roles they play, no matter how many masks they wear, the truth will always be there, waiting for you to recognize it. And once you do, there is no going back. Because now, you see them, and that is something they never wanted. Number 10. Denying you closure. How they keep you trapped in emotional limbo. Covert narcissists never grant you the dignity of a clear ending. They don't slam doors, they don't give final goodbyes, and they certainly don't take responsibility for their actions. Instead, they vanish just enough to make you feel abandoned, but leave the door just open enough to make you wonder if you should chase them. You are left drowning in questions that will never have answers. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss, a state of grief where closure is denied and your brain becomes obsessed with finding resolution. It's why people struggle to move on from relationships that never truly ended. A normal breakup has finality, an explanation, an acknowledgement, a conclusion. But with a covert narcissist, there is no such mercy. One day they love you, the next they are cold. One moment they are engaged, the next they are distant. And then, without warning, they are gone. No explanation, no closure, no respect for the pain they leave behind. But they don't disappear entirely. That would be too final. Instead, they leave breadcrumbs, an occasional text, a social media like, a mutual friend who suddenly mentions their name, just enough to keep you emotionally tethered. And because your brain is wired to seek resolution, you find yourself pulled back, searching for answers, hoping for clarity that will never come. This is not an accident. This is a control mechanism. The longer they keep you confused, the longer they can maintain power over you. They know that a clear ending means you can finally move on, and that is the one thing they fear most. But here's the truth. You do not need closure from them. Closure is not something they give you. It is something you create for yourself. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You will never get the apology, the explanation, or the recognition you deserve. And that is exactly why you must walk away without it. Closure is not in their words, it is in your decision. The moment you stop searching for answers from someone who was never honest with you to begin with, you win. Because while they play their games in the shadows, you step fully into the light. And there is nothing more powerful than that. Number 11, they never ever change. There is a moment, perhaps after the 100th lie, the 1,000th manipulation, the 1,000,000th broken promise, where you finally ask yourself, will they ever change? Maybe if you explain things one more time. Maybe if they see how much pain they've caused. Maybe if they truly love you, they'll finally wake up and realize what they've done. But the harsh truth is this: they will never change. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Covert narcissists are not like normal people who grow, reflect, and learn from their mistakes. They do not take responsibility. They do not wake up one morning and suddenly decide to become better. Why? Because deep down, they do not believe they are the problem. In their world, it is always someone else's fault. If you point out their lies, you are being paranoid. If you call out their cruelty, you are being too sensitive. If you try to walk away, you are abandoning them. There is always an excuse. There is always a new way to twist reality so that they remain blameless. Even if they pretend to change, it is only ever a performance. They sense you slipping away, so they give you just enough false hope to keep you hooked. An apology with no sincerity, a promise with no intention, a temporary shift in behavior that lasts just long enough for you to lower your guard. And then, as soon as you believe them again, as soon as you let yourself hope, they revert back to who they've always been. Because they never changed, they only paused the manipulation long enough to keep you trapped. This is why the cycle continues. This is why you feel exhausted, drained, and broken after every round of their mind games. Because while you are growing, evolving, and trying to make things work, they are staying exactly the same. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." Narcissists do the opposite. They will argue, lie, manipulate, and gaslight to convince you that they are good people, but they will never actually become one. They do not seek to change because they do not believe they need to. And that's why is you must stop waiting. Stop hoping. Stop giving them another chance. Because the person you are waiting for does not exist. The person they pretend to be is an illusion. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can walk away for good. They will not change. But you? You can. You can choose yourself. You can break the cycle. You can stop waiting for the apology that will never come, the redemption arc that will never happen, the transformation that will never occur. They won't change, but you don't have to stay. Conclusion: break free from their control. Covert narcissists don't just hurt you. They weaponize communication to destabilize your reality, manipulate your emotions, and trap you in a cycle of guilt and self-doubt. Their tactics are not always loud or obvious, but they are deeply damaging. They make you question your own mind, your own worth, and even your own sanity. But now you see through them. These 11 signs are the key to exposing their hidden abuse, and more importantly, to setting yourself free. As Epictetus said, you are not disturbed by things but by your perception of them. Their power lies in how you see them, in how much control you allow them to have over your mind. The moment you recognize their manipulation for what it is, you take that power back. They do not define you. You are not who they say you are. You are stronger, wiser, and free the moment you decide to be. So here's your challenge. Who in your life is making you doubt yourself? What is the one step you can take today to break free? Maybe it's blocking their number. Maybe it's writing down the truth they tried to erase. Maybe it's reaching out to someone who will actually support you. Whatever it is, take that step, because your freedom starts now. If this video opened your eyes, hit like to acknowledge your strength. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to take back your power, subscribe to Victory Stoic for more insights on self-mastery and mental resilience. Finally, if you're ready to break the cycle, drop a comment below with "I'm free," because today you choose yourself. Thank you for being here. They were never the victim, they were the abuser. Recognize them, cut them off, and live in the peace you deserve, because you are far stronger than they ever believed.